Every town has its ghost stories, but the events in Childress, Texas, well, they were something else entirely. Too many unanswered questions, too many coincidences, and way too many bizarre confessions. This is Hold My Sweet Tea. Hello, this is Holly.
And I'm Pearl. Have you been keeping up with the Travis Decker stuff?
I have a little bit. And
The stuff.
The tragedy.
Yes.
I have. It's a bizarre story. Like, why would this man...
Red rum his babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is crazy. 3 little girls, they were so cute and
then disappear almost like...
Yeah.
Somebody else was involved? I don't know.
Right. And he's wanted for, first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping. But he was on visitation. So does that count as kidnapping?
I think, yes. If it's past...
Okay. He didn't bring him back on a certain time.
Like, if he doesn't bring him back on a certain time, it is a violation. So it would be considered kidnapping at that point, especially if it goes on for days and days and days.
But my thing is, they said he was homeless and he was living in different camps and stuff in his truck.
Yeah.
But his truck was still there. His phone was still there. That seems a little suspicious.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, okay, so either you just decided to go all the way off grid, kind of disappear.
Yeah.
Or something happened.
Yeah, there's some foul play
to
in there.
him also.
Right.
Like, I guess we're not going to find out till they find him.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be him alive or him not alive.
Unalive.
And then just trying to put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we'll be having a Brittany Robinson update soon.
Absolutely.
And that was something that happened in the beginning with her stuff. He was like arrested and went and did jail time for a custody violation because he didn't return his daughter on time. So it's a thing.
Yep. Well, I hope they find him and I hope they get some answers. They're supposed to be doing an autopsy and DNA on the girls. So I guess they can see if there's somebody else's
something on them.
So just
to see if there's like a third party involved, I guess. Yeah.
Right. But
it sucks.
It's sad. It's very
sad. Yes.
But, speaking of death
sucky sadness
and sucky sadness, today's story, we'll have to do a disclaimer because it is one of those unaliving stories. And if that, makes you squeamish or you don't want to hear about it, listener discretion is advised.
Well, and from what I understand, what you told me, it also is some odd lifestyle choices.
There's some odd little things going on in this.
I say odd lifestyle choices. I don't mean it that way. I probably mean odd practices.
Yeah. Odd things going on. But was it? Or was it just rumors?
Right. And that's,
Because
was it blamed on odd practices that may or may not have occurred?
Exactly. But sleepy little town, and we are traveling to West Texas for all of our Texas listeners because we haven't done a Texas episode yet. So,
hello, Texas.
Hello. Up in that panhandle. I dislike driving through the panhandle of Texas. I'm sorry, but I just don't like it.
You could have ended that sentence with, I dislike driving through Texas.
It takes like 10 days to get through Texas.
Add the T at the end.
I was like, but the panhandle, like Amarillo's nice and everything, but like going through there, it's got a foul smell. And it's just nothing.
I know it smells, whatever, but I'm also like, when I drive through Texas and I'm trying to get to the other side, when I get over there, I'm like, yeah, I'm almost done.
Finally. I know. Sorry that y'all are so large, Texas, but it does suck driving through there.
Yeah. Large and overly populated with cars.
A lot. But then there's the desolate areas, and it's just like miles and miles and miles of nothing.
That make you tired.
You're like, oh, look, there's a rest stop coming up, and it's like literally a picnic table and a garbage can and one tree.
And a tumbleweed. Blows right across the road, right as you're pulling into
You're
park.
like, where am I supposed to pee? Behind that tree.
Or the tumbleweed.
It tumbled away.
Like, come back, I have to pee.
Right? Well, our story begins in the year of 1988 with a 17-year-old named Tate Rowland. Tate was a Childress fixture in Texas. He was popular. He was good looking. And he had a wild streak a mile long. He was a wild child, The sheriff's office knew him well.
Oh, goodness.
He was a hot rodder, a drinker, tearing up and down the Childress drag, and in his tricked out blue Ford pickup.
But I'm so glad it wasn't a freaking Fox body Mustang.
Right. Oh, he had his Ford pickup. He's like, look at my Ford. This was a stretch of US 287 in the heart of teenage life. The Mighty Burger, the 24-hour car wash, the United supermarket parking lot. If you were a teenager in Childress, Texas, there wasn't a whole lot for a teenager to do except, according to Tate's friend, Bobby Reynolds, chase girls, drink beer, and get in a little trouble.
Well, at least he's honest.
Right? But Childress itself isn't your typical sleepy West Texas town. I mean, they didn't have a lot going on, but they did have, a pretty thriving hospital, a new state prison bringing in jobs. I'm like, yay, prison.
So if you get hurt, you're covered. If you get in trouble, they got someplace to put you.
Right, there you go. And despite a hiccup with their sheriff getting caught selling marijuana,
sorry,
folks in Childress back in 1988 like to focus on their wholesome, all-American qualities. Sorry.
Was it all-American quantities of marijuana?
Yes. Just an eighth of quantity.
It's fine.
I'm going to read right. I swear. I'm looking at my notes and talking. So this town, for all its charm, it's small enough that everybody knows everybody's business. One of those little towns. Love, hate, gossip, it all ricochets through, the flat landscape. Of course, there's nothing for it to bounce off of.
Oh, right.
But it ricochets.
It ricochets off the dirt.
Right. And everyone knew Tate Rowland. So half the town liked him. Half thought he needed a good kick in the ass. Well, he was just that kind of kid. Even the district attorney, McCoy, called him a rabble rouser. You got the district attorney knowing who you are.
Yeah. I feel like you could be liked and still need a good kick in the butt.
Yep.
It's
absolutely
fine. You can need both.
And Tate, he was one of those kids, he loved to scuffle, especially if he thought someone was putting a move on his on-again, off-again, pixie-sized blonde girlfriend, Karen Hackler.
Karen. That's perfect. She hackles.
Yep, she's a hackler. He even got his jaw broken once by his buddy Bobby Reynolds over Karen. He didn't know how to fight well, but he didn't back down.
He did it anyway.
Yep, he did it anyway. He was in there. He's like, you hitting on my girl?
I'm going to hit on you.
I'm going to hit on you. Yep, got his jaw broke. But Tate's relationship with Karen was a classic love-hate affair. Like, they were, always in their cars, chasing each other up and down the drag, mad or jealous at each other about something. Like, you all know the type of person I'm talking about. They're constantly fighting and making up, fighting and making up. They're just toxic with each other. The Hackler family even called the police, complaining about Tate harassing Karen, stealing her purse, slinging gravel at their house. Like, this is the type of relationship they had.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. There was even an incident involving Tate's truck and Kevin Hackler with an axe handle. So that actually went to court. So the grand jury, bless their small town little hearts, couldn't decide who to believe. So they didn't indict either one of them. They were like, I don't know who to believe, so let's just let them both go. It's fine. It's fine.
Go home, boys.
Right. The tensions, though, between Tate and the Hacklers were reaching, like, a boiling point. In January of 1988, Tate was arrested for assault after Karen claimed he choked her at a convenience store.
Oh.
Yeah. So he was getting a little handsy, so it's like, you should separate, But it went to the grand jury, and there was no indictment because during the lunch break, the jury saw Tate and Karen hugging and kissing in the courtroom hallway.
Of course they were.
Right. Toxic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, y'all.
So, let bygones be bygones, they decided. Whatever. So, soon after, Tate moved to Louisiana with a relative of his. His father, Jimmy Rowland, who worked for the railroad, had been telling Tate to stay away from Karen and the Hacklers. Brenda, Tate's stepmother, and Jimmy didn't think they were good for Tate, and him and Karen were not good for each other at all. It was kind of turning into one of those modern day Hatfield-McCoy type feuds back and forth.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Sounds like it. Yep.
Sounds like.
Yep. So then in the spring of 1988, while Tate was still in Louisiana, Karen got married to a young man in Childress, Texas.
Ooh, somebody gonna be mad.
Yeah. So, and this was like from early, January-ish of 1988, and then by the spring, she got married.
I'm like, what were you doing?
Right. So when Tate came back at the end of summer, he was stunned. It was like, what?
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Exactly. So his friends and family, they said that he tried to rekindle things, but Karen said he mostly, contacted her to talk about his problems. He still wanted her in his life, to talk about things. So while many people said that Tate, actually snapped back to his old self, one friend admitted Tate showed some depression over Karen, which I think would be normal and natural. Yeah. After, he had a beer or two, he would start talking, and he would tell his friend, he's like, this is the song I want you to play at my funeral. He stopped loving her today.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh no, not that song.
That's, wow.
Come on, Tate, snap out of it.
Right. Go see your doctor, homie.
Right.
Get you some meds. You're going to be okay.
That's all right. So on July 26, 1988, Tate Rowland, he didn't seem upset at all. Around 5 p.m, he was seen at the United Supermarket making plans to catch a softball game the following evening, and then he was going to go split a 12-pack with Bobby Reynolds after. Him and Bobby. So Bobby done broke my jaw, but we're still friends. It's fine. Karen done married somebody else.
It's all good, yeah. I'm over it.
Right. So after they left the supermarket, he and a younger friend, Chad Johnston, drove off. So at 6 o'clock that evening, Chad Johnston walked into Jimmy and Brenda Rowland's home and calmly told them that Tate had hung himself.
Say, huh?
Yeah. He just walked in Tate's dad's home and was like, Tate hung himself. Like, hey, just calm. Like,
wow.
No tears in his eyes. Nothing.
Oh.
So they rushed to the site where he was at, and there's Tate hanging from this tree. So his father gets up there and cuts him down Chad was only like 15. He was a really quiet, unpopular kid in town, and he liked to hang around with Tate because Tate brought excitement to his life.
Well, and Tate was popular. Everybody knew Tate.
But to like walk over there and go, hey, he hung himself in this tree over here, and then like, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So Chad's initial story to the sheriff was that they had driven out to a small grove of trees where they like to listen to music. They would sit out there and drink some beer. This 15-year-old.
15-year-old.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tate.
Right.
Contributing to delinquency of a minor.
Right.
Good job.
So after a few beers, Tate strung a rope over a horse apple tree limb and announced that he was going to hang himself and told Chad where he wanted his funeral at. He was like, this is where I want my funeral. I'm going to hang myself. Chad thought he was kidding. So Chad had walked behind the car to toss a beer can and to check and see if anybody was watching, I guess. I'm like, were you not concerned that he was hanging himself? Or did you just think he was joking, but why are you watching? Are you watching because y'all are drinking or what?
I'm confused by that, but okay.
3 minutes later, Tate was dead. But this story has like a big problem because Tate Rowland had 2 rope burns on his neck, one above the Adam's apple and one below the Adam's apple.
Suspicious.
Yeah. So in a typical hanging, body weight pulls the chin down, so it leaves a mark above the Adam's apple. So could he have been strangled and then hung up there to look like a suicide? Right, because it like
up and behind
forces
like
your
ear. Yeah. Up toward your ears that way.
So 2 days later, Chad was interviewed again. This time he changed his story. He said Tate tried to hang himself twice.
And you just stood there?
The first time the rope broke and Tate said, I can't even kill myself. They went back to Tate's house, a 5-minute drive, to get another rope and return back to the tree. He said Tate stood on the hood of his car, tied one end around the limb and the other around his neck, and stepped off. And again, you didn't try to.
He did nothing. He never told anybody anything.
You went to his house. Yeah. You could have went in and told his parents.
Right. The same house you just went back to and said, hey guys. But you waited long enough for him to be dead first.
Yeah. So Chad later said he had told different stories because he feared getting in trouble for not stopping Tate, insisting Tate had been talking about suicide and was upset over Karen. Again.
Who cares?
Right. I don't care if I get in trouble. Like, no, you're not going to kill yourself. I don't care how strung out you are over a girl.
Yeah.
So the sheriff's department at the time ruled it a suicide. The judge saw no reason for an autopsy. Tate was buried.
You know what? There's always a reason for an autopsy.
Yeah. Like, that was it.
I don't care if your grandma died in the hospital and you knew she had cancer.
Autopsy, please.
Like, literally. Like, that is the dumbest shit.
They're like, he's got 2 rope burns.
But
there was 2
we don't
stories.
Need to look into it.
It's fine. He killed himself. It's Tate. Like, what? So this is where things get weird. So at Tate's funeral, whispers were happening.
Please tell me nobody played that song.
No, I don't think so. Maybe? I don't know. It didn't say.
I was just like, please tell me no one played the song.
So they said that, Tate's aunt, who had driven from Amarillo, she was at the funeral and she like asked one of the people, she's like, who was that woman in the back there with a black veil over her face?
Was it Karen?
I don't know. They were packed in the Calvary Baptist Church. And so she was like, I'm going to find out who she is. So once the service was over, the woman was gone.
Ooh.
So they were like, who was that? Like, you couldn't even see who it was. Then in the middle of the service, a young man in the front row of the church started chanting over and over a single word: suicide, suicide, suicide. Like, he just kept saying it. It's weird.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yes. Very weird.
A few days later, a tip from a high school student led Childress police to a spot a quarter of a mile from the hanging tree. There, a cow skull was lodged in a small tree, and beneath it, logs surrounded a pile of rocks. The officers concluded they were staring at an altar. I don't know about that, but okay.
No way.
Right? Another night, an officer was doing rounds through the town. He drove past the cemetery, and he saw a tall figure standing by Tate Rowland's grave. When he went to check it out, he found spit all over the tombstone.
Okay. So tall, slender figure.
Man, they're like
sitting over there hocking loogies on the...
Hocking loogies on it. Other unsubstantiated reports poured in. A burning cross over Tate's grave, a school teacher's dog stolen and sacrificed. Were these just antics of pranksters? Like, Childress kids, they loved a good boogeyman tale, you know. But the town had a strange connection to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, thanks to a line of dialogue in the film. So never mind it was filmed near Austin and loosely based on events in Wisconsin, like, it just, like, because of, they mentioned it in the film. So they were like, oh, you know, they had slumber parties and they would be like tales of like this killer on the loose. So like it was just urban legends would take hold and everything. Tate himself, for kicks, once put on a mask and overalls, borrowed a chainsaw without the chain, and chased giggling girls into the cemetery. So, like, you know, they were all doing funny, like,
goofy stuff.
Yeah,
like,
goofy stuff.
Natural child things.
Right.
I mean, when
back then, yeah,
young
teenage
and
things,
in the 80s, like, we did the whole Bloody Mary in the river.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
But, like, the story about Tate's death were, like, far from funny. When school started in the fall, every high school student seemed to have heard that Tate was a cult member. Murdered by members of his cult that he was supposed to be in because he refused to bring them a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child for sacrifice. The child was supposedly one of his stepmother's daughters or one of his sister, Terry Trosper's 4 blonde daughters. I'm like, all these rumors like flying around. It's the 80s, so all of a sudden, satanic panic.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I meant by practices.
Yes.
In the beginning.
Exactly. And to make it even more chilling, District Attorney McCoy confirms about the same time as these rumors had started, we had strangers in cars showing up at the local elementary school parking lot trying to pick up little kids.
Oh, hell no.
Hell no. That ain't you. Is that your daddy? No, you ain't getting in the car with him. Like, what?
What's wrong with people?
But no arrests were ever made in the attempted kidnapping cases. But
why not?
But, like, people were spreading rumors like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
So this town was getting weird. Like, Twin Peaks weird.
I was about to say.
I miss Twin Peaks. That was such a good show.
Next thing you know, aliens.
Right.
Because that's the only thing we've got left here.
Exactly. So Brenda Rowland, Tate's stepmother, started getting at least 10 calls a day from people spreading cult stories.
Oh my God.
Right. I don't know if I believe it, they'd say, but this is what I heard, and another version of Tate's death would be born. So what started as an embellished high school speculation transformed into a full-blown community menace. Like, even Cotton Farmer, who was plowing nearby in July, told investigators that he only saw 2 boys at the hanging tree, leave and return, but those rumors didn't stop.
So Tate is causing a ruckus from the
Still
grave.
causing a ruckus. Like, he's like, hold my beer. There you go. They were like, these tales aren't just coming from anybody. They're just coming from, like, good, ordinary people in our all-American
that doesn't make
town.
them true
right.
at all.
So I mean, even they had stories of like one of the mothers in town said that she was seeing teenagers in the park gathering gravel while heavy metal music was playing, and then when they left, she found gravel shaped into like 666 outside.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, girl.
Rihanna shaped some gravel into I love you, Mom once.
Oh. Rihanna is in a cult.
Oh, no.
No. But then they did get a bizarre phone call from the Lockhart Police Department in Central Texas. A Childress girl visiting Lockhart had told a local girl she dreamed of a boy being hanged by a satanic cult. She dreamed the cult met at an abandoned house with a red porch light in Kirkland, east of Childress. Parents were involved, she said, and they used a car to run the boy down a few years earlier, like a boy.
That was like a few times.
Yeah, a few years earlier. Sorry, not a few times. Sheriff deputies like checked this out. They were like, okay, we'll check. And yes, a haunted, quote unquote, house with a red porch light in Kirkland had just burned to the ground. A couple of years prior, a 15-year-old kid had been hit by a car and killed while walking home. This reminds me a lot of the Springfield.
That's what I was thinking too.
Like what Michael was his name? Michael
Brown.
Brown, yeah. Brown story, which was crazy because it's just a weird little spun story.
I guess we need to do that one.
We should.
Do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on Halloween night, our favorite night, well, the night before, Devil's Night.
Fire it up.
Fire it up. So on Halloween night in 1988, rumors spread that the cult planned to dig up Tate's body to extract his collarbone and pinky knuckle for a ritual.
Wow. How specific.
Right? Just the pinky. Just the pinky knuckle right there.
Yeah.
You got it. All right.
Good job.
So a group of 8 teenagers met at the cemetery gates to visit Tate's grave. One of them, 17 at the time, told grand jury what happened next. They piled into a pickup and drove slowly toward Tate's grave. As they got closer, someone asked, "Is that music?" The driver stopped to listen, and then all of a sudden, he recalled some headlights turned on where Tate's grave was supposed to be. We all started going crazy and screaming. He whipped his truck around as fast as he could. They roared back through the gates. Someone spotted pentagrams drawn on the cemetery shed, sending everybody screaming again. The headlights kept coming closer. People jumped out of the pickup and into their cars, scattered in separate directions. And the young man sped toward town in the pickup, saying the lights followed him all the way to the courthouse before finally turning off. This is a whole bunch of, like,
hoopity
hoopla, like, just.
But I'm just laughing because I'm like,
legends.
What if somebody was in their car out there
and
visiting
like,
somewhere else, and they're like, I'm gonna mess with these kids.
Yes.
And then they go home like dying laughing, and these kids are like, oh my God.
Right.
I'm so scared.
Like, and if that wasn't enough, shortly after Halloween, Ray Wilkes, one of the town's more renegade teenagers, was arrested for stealing a car and drunkenly crashing it into a utility pole. Officers say when Ray was booked, he confessed to being a member of a satanic cult and claimed that he was at the tree when Tate was hanged.
Of course he did.
Right? Those at the jail that night described Ray's voice as very spooky and told Ray sports a swastika and the words heavy metal tattooed on his forearm. But,
that is always a sign of a cult member.
Right. But, the next day he's like, I didn't tell you that. I was just drunk. I don't know, like, what y'all are talking about. So, like,
y'all silly.
This incident made people, like, start talking about the Wilkes. So Frank Wilkes, he was 44, and 2 of his 4 sons had a reputation with the police. Of course they did. Mm-hmm. They were a bunch of outlaws, according to the cops. Could they be a part of the cult? And what about those words painted and then covered up on the back of their ramshackle home in the poorer southwest part of town. So people thought it said the Devil's Den or the Devil's Bin, or the courthouse secretary swore it said, "We worship the devil."
That's like it went from 2 words to a whole entire sentence.
So Frank Wilkes, an unemployed carpenter with a thick hillbilly-style beard and accent, said, "Oh, hell. That was the doing of Ray, my youngest son. He was trying to win the affection of a girl, so he wrote, 'I love Letty.'" So
that doesn't look like the devil at all.
"I love Letty" doesn't look like the Devil's Den or the Devil's Bin. So he made him go out there and cover it up. So Frank insisted, he's like, "My 2 sons couldn't have been at the hanging tree with Tate that day." And he said it so proudly. "My oldest son, Darwin, was in jail and Ray was being held at a youth detention center." I was like, oh, Lord, this town is...
all hell.
Right. But the rumors persisted, and kids accused each other of being in cults. They'd be like, "You're in a cult." So Brenda Rowland, while not believing everything, fueled the fires herself, calling kids at home and asking them point blank if they were cult members. Tate's friend Clifton Hodge said he wouldn't even check out an occult book from the school library because you would have the fear of being labeled a cult member. I'm like, me?
Like, I can't even research it.
Right, I can't even read about it. No one's name was slandered like Tate's old girlfriend, Karen, though. So Karen
her name's still slandered.
She's still slandered. For the first time, kids seeing her on the drag would hold up their fingers in the shape of crosses as if to ward her off. She was rumored to have witchcraft books and a Ouija board.
Old she-devil.
Town gossip said Karen had lured Tate into the cult, and one mother even called her the cult's queen bee.
Ooh. Look at you, got all the power.
So then, this is a few years later, all these cult rumors, swirling. In May of 1991, nearly 3 years after Tate's death, Tate's older sister, 27-year-old Terry Trosper, was found dead, face down on a bed.
Because of the cult.
That's when Childress, the people of Childress, it hit them like a clap of thunder. They,
so now
hardcore panicked. Right.
Now?
Terry, by all accounts, had been going through hard times, though. She had separated from her husband. She gave custody of her 4 girls to her husband. And then she just started running with, a party crowd.
The devil.
The devil. He was in a party cult. Her new boyfriend, Ricky Bradford, he was a ex-convict and a close friend of old Frank Wilkes' son, Darwin.
Oh.
They were all in the same circle.
Here they come again.
Right? Both Darwin and Ricky had served time for aggravated assault. And one night, on the night of her death, Terry, Ricky, Bradford, and Darwin had some friends were drinking at the Wilkes' house. The one with the graffiti on it, that says the Devil's Bin or the Devil's Den.
I love Letty.
Right. I love Letty. And Frank Wilkes wasn't there. He was in jail for assaulting a police officer, just to let you know.
Oh, he was busy.
Daddy was busy in jail. It's his turn now.
He was busy being a really great
dad,
father, and mentor.
He's like, I got an alibi. I was in jail. I assaulted that guy right over there.
Safe.
So Terry had been drinking heavily. Her blood alcohol level, when they tested it, was 0.23, more than twice the legal limit. Ricky Bradford stated that they went to bed in one of the small bedrooms, and at one point, he said he got up. Terry was staggering around the living room, and then she collapsed, so he helped her back to bed. The next morning when he got up and he touched her, she was cold and stiff.
Fun times.
Yeah. An autopsy. They did an autopsy.
Look at that.
Determined that Terry had died by choking on her own vomit.
Oh, good Lord. Face down, though?
But they found her face down on a mattress.
Yeah.
I was like, let me reiterate that. But
that's why I went, wait, face down though?
Childress police found no evidence of foul play and closed the case.
Okay. So I guess it doesn't really matter if you have an autopsy in this town or not.
But then allegations quickly started surfacing that Terry's death was linked to Tate's death. Here we go with the cult. Yeah. She never believed that Tate took his own life, said Lisa Barber, a courthouse secretary and longtime friend of Terry's. Right up to her death, she never accepted it. She was hell-bent on finding who killed her brother.
She was hell-bent.
Hell-bent. In the cult.
In the cult.
She'd been in the hell. Ricky Bradford admitted to me that Terry once told him Tate had warned her to keep her daughters in the house because the cult was going to sacrifice one of them. But Ricky scoffed. I've lived here all my life and I've never seen any kind of cult. You like how I slip into those voices, huh?
Yeah. My whole life.
Right. And like Frank Wilkes gave a statement to the police that Ricky once boasted that he was the devil. But Ricky scoffed at that too. Oh God, he said, rolling his deep blue eyes, I don't believe in no Satan. In fact, other members of the Bradford family said it was the Wilkes brothers who were associated with devil worshiping. And he was like, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in all that. So
I don't believe in either one.
I don't believe in either one. So all of this stuff was going around. All of these accusations and things were coming up. And people were saying that there was people in black capes and having their Ouija boards out and loading goats into their car.
Ouija boards and goats.
Not the goats. They were in the graveyard trying to call up spirits.
They need the goats so they can make candles later.
Like, it's hard to imagine capes and Ouija boards.
Capes, Ouija boards, and goats.
With all these, like, blue collar, beer drinking good old boys.
Well, sheep go to heaven and goats go to hell.
That's right. I forgot all about that song.
So it makes sense. Goats totally make sense. Totes my goats.
Totes my goats. So all of these rumors about devil worshipping in this town were just made up bullshit by like people who were scared. Still, something felt off about Terry Trosper's death. That's because she was found face down on a mattress, but choked on her own vomit.
Yeah.
No. She was the fourth of Jimmy Rowland's 6 children to die.
What in the actual...
Yeah. One died in infancy, another in a car wreck at age 4, then Tate, now Terry.
They're cursed, Holly.
Right. Jimmy and Brenda demanded an investigation. They were like, something's going on. Our children are dying.
Well, I mean, yeah. Something's definitely up right there.
The former Childress County Sheriff, Claude Lane, had stubbornly refused to investigate Tate's case, insisting it was a suicide, leading to predictable rumors that he, too, was in the cult and he was covering it up. This town's a little cuckoo.
It's just, you try to get out of it, and
right.
It goes right back
in. But after Sheriff Lane went to jail for dealing marijuana, the case was reopened by the new sheriff.
He said, I ain't drinking that Kool-Aid.
Right, Reese Bowen, a red-headed, straight-back Childress native, and his young deputy, Kevin Overstreet. Both men re-interviewed witnesses. Overstreet went to Lockhart to double-check the story of the Childress girls' dreams. Then a few weeks after Terry's death came yet another astonishing twist. Darwin Wilkes attempted suicide by swallowing 25 to 30 Elavil pills, a mild antidepressant.
Interesting.
He left a suicide note that read, I know something that the cops don't know. I know who killed Terry. I can't live anymore. Was it a confession, or was he like saying he knew who murdered her? When he recovered, he claimed he didn't remember writing the note and certainly didn't know who killed Terry. Bruh.
Boy, these guys like to blame it on their drink.
And the pills.
And the pills. Like, I was under the influence. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And the sheriff, he wanted Darwin to take a lie detector test, but Darwin.
Hello, Darwin.
Hello, Darwin. He left for Dallas. A couple miles north of Childress, near curving dirt road, intersecting two cotton fields, stands a drooping, wide-limbed horseapple tree with its largest branch nearly broken in half. It's the hanging tree, a landmark most residents know only by hearsay. They'd prefer not to go out there, if you know what I mean. But I'm sure teenagers are out there all the time and stuff, because teenagers aren't scared of shit. They'll just go out there.
They just go do dumb stuff.
But, people say it's haunted. They hear voices out there, things like that. For those in Childress who believed in the growing international satanic conspiracy, the news about Tate and Terry only confirmed their fears that the devil had come to town. Satan hunters had been warning that deadly occult organizations were moving into America's heartland, luring youth with sex, drugs, and heavy metal and fantasy games. Good old D&D. Law enforcement agencies across the county were adding, quote-unquote, cult cops to their staff, and cult awareness agencies warned that today's candle-burning teenager could be tomorrow's baby killer. Small-town experts said, "We are particularly susceptible to cults looking for remote areas where activities could be concealed. It's no surprise then that the satanic panic had overwhelmed Childress. It just took over. Everybody was like, blah, 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 Satan, let's go to church." The investigation into the deaths of Tate Rowland and Terry Trosper became the focus of the entire community. But for some town people, the cult stories possessed a different threat entirely. The corrosive power of gossip. They saw rational thinking consumed by fright, apprehension, and the sheer pleasure of swapping third-hand information over coffee. When these people look back on these events, they didn't see the devil exposed. What they saw was a modern-day witch hunt. So what do y'all think? Do you think it was a cult, a string of suicides, or something else entirely? They never, even though they looked into it, they never found
they
anything.
never did anything.
They never, come to any conclusion except, oh, well, they were both suicides.
Mm-hmm.
Or she choked on her vomit. Or, something like that.
Whatever, yeah. So, accidental death,
but it always went back to the cult stuff.
Yeah.
The devils in the town.
Well, my brain, every time you say horseapple tree, I get an image of horse poop in my head. And then I'm over here the whole entire time singing, Are you
yes
going to the tree? I'm like, stop it. Stop it.
I think of the tree.
Like, pay attention. Right? Stop it.
Every time I heard that, I was thinking of the tree in Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
The big tree.
The big tree.
I don't know if it's that spectacular, but or if it's surrounded by other trees, but it's the now considered the hanging tree, and people are warned not to go out there because
don't mess with it.
That's where the Satanists go out and do their Ouija boarding and
and goat herding.
I gotta get these goats in my car. We gotta go to the tree. The goats are like, meh, and fainting.
Fainting. They bring them out to the tree and they just fall over.
I know. I'm like, not the goats. Give them to me. I'll take them.
Poor goats got such a bad rep.
But, it was a cool little story about Childress, Texas for all of our Texas listeners. I hope you enjoyed it. And sorry I keep tripping over my words today.
You're fine.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I think I just said Childress too many times. And every time I look at it, it looks like Childress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to say it, or Childress. And I'm like, Childress.
Childress.
Yeah. But I mean, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Do you think it was a suicide, or was it the satanic panic?
For sure.
Or do you think it was actually the devil in Texas?
Yeah. Yeah, you can send it to steeped@holdmysweettea.com, or you can message us on social media.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Comment on the episode in YouTube.
Yep.
We answer everything.
We would love to have some interaction on our socials. That would be so great. We've had some.
Yes.
And we appreciate them all. We just want more.
Yes.
We're greedy.
We are greedy.
Give us more.
Talk to us.
Right?
Now. Don't make us get our Ouija board out just so we can have some conversation here.
I've got the goats in my car already.
Oh my god.
That's hilarious.
Our theme music is by Patty Salzetta.
I bet Patty likes goats too. Let us know, Patty.
Have you ever sang Sheep Go to Heaven, Goats Go to Hell? I mean, I've never heard her do that, but I'm just wondering.
I'm sure she knows it, though.
It's a fun, good time.
That's right. That's right. So do all of those cool things, and Hold My Sweet Tea is a Drunken Bee production.
Bzz.
And you guys stay safe out there, and remember, just because we're dipping doesn't mean you can't keep sipping.
Or cow tipping.
Or cow tipping.
Bye.
Bye. Nah.